Okay. Good morning. This is Sandy Conkar. Welcome to Surviving the Diagnosis. It's happened to all of us. And I am on remote in Florida right now, along with Peggy Mangan. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sandy. Unfortunately, I'm not in Florida, and it's cold here in Michigan.
Well, it's very humid here, so unfortunately, there isn't a happy medium today, but it's nice and sunny anyway. I love sun. But we are welcoming you to our Surviving the Diagnosis. It's happened to all of us every Monday morning. 3 Mondays out of each month, we refer to them as our open discussion Monday. And you are welcome to come on live and join in the discussion. Oh, hang on. I have that playing over at Facebook, and it just started automatically playing. So here we go. I'm going to have to remember that. I do that every week. We start playing it. So anyway, again, we're here to bring the patient and the caregivers together. Peggy and I, about a year ago, we came together in discussion. She was a guest on one of my radio shows, and actually twice. And through the discussion, we realized that there was a disconnect in communication between the patient and the caregivers. And the caregivers are more easily known as the moms, the dads, the sisters, brothers, friend, even, and also your professional caregivers, the doctors and the nurses who take care of you. So what we decided was to create Surviving the Diagnosis for everyone to be able to come in to a place where you felt comfortable to share your challenges and your struggles and your upset. So you can kind of like vent in a non-judgmental platform. Because both Peggy and I have been here. We've been there. We understand that sometimes we feel that we need to be politically correct when in fact we really have no desire whatsoever to be politically correct. We want to tell it like it is, get it out, release it from our bodies, and move forward. And release that stress that we're holding on to, that that is creating this dis-ease that we're experiencing. Um, so that's what the show is about. And what we're going to be discussing today, or actually this whole month of September, is around embracing your vulnerability, embrace your power. And through the steps that we are discussing this month, you will become more um, uh, comfortable with sharing your vulnerabilities and how, and we will show you how you can step into that arena so you can start feeling comfortable in saying, I'm really not feeling well today, or to saying, I need somebody's help. Um, when, especially like on the caregiver side, we have a tendency of thinking that we can do it all ourselves. On the patient side, and Peggy will expand on that, has a tendency of, well, I don't want to bother my family members. So, it's really, it's balancing both sides. And last week, what we talked about was the how to ask for what you desire in your life, and the steps in how to even begin to bring that thought into your mind that it's possible for you to actually do something to change your life and live that life that you want all along, all the while you're going through what you're going through. And today is going to be pushing the send button, and that's really figuratively. It could be on the computer or going to your church and asking to be put on a prayer list because you really need some added support. But that can be scary as well. But so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then, of course, we're going to do a little tapping. And you're watching survivingthediagnosis.com. And if you want to go over to our page and get friendly reminders of the shows every Monday morning, just click on the Access the Hangouts button, and that will then just follow the instructions there, share your information, and then select to be live on the air. Then you'll get a link in the morning as well to come on the panel and just talk and chat like Peggy and I will do each Monday. So it's yours, Peggy. Oh, did I lose Peggy?
No, you didn't lose
Okay,
me.
all
I
righty.
was on mute.
Okay, well,
Um,
my remote connection is a little iffy, so I want to double check.
right. Yeah, we're holding our breath here, so Sandy stays with us. Um, yeah, well, good morning. I'm Peggy Mangan, as Sandy introduced me, two times cancer survivor. And my last ordeal with cancer was a pretty scary one, but I am here despite the prognosis of 1 year. I'm here 9 years, so I guess I'm doing something right. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the applause. I'll take it. Okay, yeah, this topic that we're going to be discussing, I've been putting it out on our Facebook page, and I've had some responses that I'm really excited about. And one of our listeners uh, mentioned being vulnerable in that she's a widow and asking for help at the time that her husband died. She was just in a panic to do that. But when help arrived in the middle of the night, she said it changed the whole dimension of the asking. In other words, she got comfort, she got camaraderie, whereas before she was all alone. And I just think that's great response, and I thank her for that. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna do some tapping. Also, I'm a registered nurse, and I am a practitioner that does this tapping as well as Sandy. And we've come a long way with um, our abilities, I'll say, after being in this profession for a while. You work on your own stuff, as we call it, and lo and behold, every aspect of your life becomes more positive, more um, appropriate to circumstances. And I'll just give you one of mine. Um, I was so stricken by stage fright. Years, all my life actually, never would I get up and speak in class as a child or in college or and as a nurse, I would just kind of lose it when I had to get up and present a case. But the more work I have done with the energy aspect, uh, the more confident I've gotten. And I will just give you an example. This summer, I was at an event, 300 people, and lo and behold, I found myself going up to the microphone and taking part in the discussion, and that wouldn't have happened before I learned this work. So I think Sandy kind of has a story similar to that, don't you, Sandy?
Yeah, I do. Thanks. Mine was actually, I was in the midst of training for kinesiology, getting my certification. And a friend of mine that was in the class said, "Hey, you want to go to a workshop that somebody was offering that evening?" And I said, "Okay, well, what is it?" And she said, "EFT." I said, "Well, I don't know what EFT is. I have no idea, but I'll go. What the heck? Something different, break up the evening." Excuse me. And so we arrived and noticed, because through kinesiology you do a lot of emotional work as well, and you release a lot of belief systems and baggage. And I'd been in the class for probably about a week and a half by at this time. And walked into the event. I sat down in the first row, which I am a back row person. And if there was even a further back row person, that would have been me. If I could have watched it from the hall, that would have been me. Um, I sat in the first row. The facilitator asked for a volunteer to come up, and I volunteered. That was so, like, I was like is this really me sitting in front of all these people in this audience? And uh, what we worked on was my claustrophobia, and that I had ever since as long as I could remember. I did not like elevators. I could not go into small places. So everybody kind of familiar with what claustrophobia is. Even tunnels, like if I went into driving into a tunnel and the traffic stopped, I would go into a complete sweat. I just got very, very ill just from that thought of getting stuck in a tunnel. And uh, so I think that the work that I was doing with the kinesiology allowed me to step out and say, "Hey, I need help with this issue of mine that I've had my entire life." So, and then EFT reduced it and actually eliminated it. So I'm very thrilled.
Wow.
It was, yeah, that was my experience of EFT, just energy work in general, helping you step out and go, wow, I can do that and experience something different in life. So yeah, I thought it
That's
was really
pretty
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, it was. And to
Wow.
this day, I still don't, I do not have any of that issue. Now, if something, a little like little what I call a dis-ease in your body where you kind of get this hesitation, then I'll just start tapping on it and it'll go away. And then I don't have that issue. And what was really cool about that time was when my daughter, she had just moved to Maryland. And to go from North Carolina to Maryland, the easiest route was to go through Virginia Beach and under the tunnels by the naval base to get onto the other side. And there were long bridges,
Oh, wow.
and the bridges were, even though bridges were really open, you were still claustrophobic because there was no, the lanes were only going one way. There wasn't a way to turn around. You were stuck. And if traffic stopped, you were stuck. So it came at a perfect time, divine timing. So I was
That's
able
great.
to go through the tunnels and do the bridges. And it was my husband, who's a skeptic, was extremely amazed because he said, "Oh, we're going to going into the tunnel. Are you ready?" And I go, "Oh, no problem." And he just kind of looked at me. And that was, I will say, was due to my learning EFT.
That's
So
that
I'm very, very grateful for this modality.
that is really an awesome example. I have a couple clients that I worked with, and they had the same issue, and she was scared to death to go over bridges, which she had to do when she worked in Canada. And lo and behold, she's going over bridges these days. So
Yeah.
it's a powerful, powerful technique that can help us discharge emotional charges in our body. When you're frightened, you're nervous, you tense up, and this technique can really work on those sort of issues.
Oh, definitely. The phobias, it works great for phobias.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
So we're going to go to break, but when we get back, we're going to discuss a couple of learning moments in and how you can do your pushing your send button. And so you're watching Surviving the Diagnosis. It's happened to all of us. Again, as I said earlier, if you would like to, feel free, go over to survivingthediagnosis.com and click on the Access the Hangouts, which is going to give you an opt-in. You'll receive Monday morning a very quick, friendly reminder the show's starting in about an hour. And also on Wednesday, we send out our newsletter, and you will have a link to the replay. So anybody that signs up for the shows will get that replay link as well. So, okay. So on the learning moments, on how to pushing that send button. Um, Now, Peggy, you last a couple week or so ago, you had stepped out and you pushed that send button on looking for support from the community on Facebook. And we know that it can be a little scary, and uh, that hesitation. So I guess one of the things that I would ask our listeners to do, and we also ask you to designate a journal or a notebook for the shows. So you can keep notes and write down things that come to mind as we're talking, because we ask a couple of questions, and they will help you do the detective work in finding why you're resistant in certain areas. And pushing send is a huge one. And the first question is, what is stopping or preventing you from pushing the send button, and or stepping out from behind the curtain to be seen? And
Mm-hmm.
so, Peggy, when you push just before you pushed your send button, um, do you remember anything that may have given you a little bit of hesitation?
Oh yeah. I was reluctant because I'm a I'm the type of person that I always took care of myself. I mean, I just did not reach out and ask for anything. I mean, if I couldn't handle it myself, it just didn't get done. And that's a kind of a lonely place to be for a cancer patient because that adds to the isolation. And everybody knows that cancer patients are um, really isolated because of their treatment and because of their white counts go down and that sort of thing. So I recall my sister putting me on a prayer line when I had my bone marrow transplant, and I recall her saying it went all over the world, and that really struck a note with me. And I did have a scare recently of a nodule in my neck, which, you know, as a nurse, I pretty much had it down as a lymph node, a swollen lymph node, and so I was waiting this long stretch of days. It seemed like forever, but it was about 10 days that I had to wait to get resolution. So I decided to ask my friends on Facebook to send healing energy, prayers, Reiki healing, anything that they could have me in their intention with, because that I have read recently over the past few years, especially with my cancer, that we are all connected. And if a group of people send their intention toward one person, that person's field catches it, and it helps in the situation. So I did it. I pushed send, and then I went, oh my gosh, what if they say,
Yeah.
wow, who are you? I mean,
Hmm.
what do you think you know, reject me, or just plain get angry and don't, you know, you can feel those vibes too.
Right. Yeah.
So
So,
I
so what
was
you
just
wanted, yeah, do is you want to look at what is the upside to not pushing that send button, and what would say your upside have been if you hadn't pushed that
my,
send button.
my upside would have been I wouldn't have to deal with worrying about whether they were going to be angry with me, whether they were going to think I was a whiner.
Hmm.
I could have sat there in my isolation and done nothing, and that historically has been my comfort zone.
Okay, yeah. So you stepped out of that comfort zone, and then we
Yeah,
want, yeah, then we want the viewers to ask themselves, what is the downside for them for not pushing that button? Because I just want to add to this that there's always the yin and the yang of every situation. So it sounds a little strange because even when I asked Peggy, what's the upside, or what's the down, no, what's the upside to something one day, and you said there's no upside to that, but really there was after we kind of went through some examples and exercises, and then you
right.
did find your upside to the whole situation, that one
Yeah,
particular one. So there is an
it,
upside and a downside.
right. And I
And it,
think I got that. I think I got that upside down. The upside, I guess, would have been I would have gotten the support that I wanted, and
hmm
I did get it.
hmm
Almost 200 and some people. I couldn't believe it. The downside was that you know, here I was in anonymity, and I didn't have all these people worrying about me. And now I feel an obligation, if you might say that,
Hmm.
uh, to let them know as time goes on how I'm doing. And that might be a downside. I don't know.
Well, that's another, how I would view that as another aspect of pushing the send button.
Mm-hmm.
Because, because then now it's a new situation. It's okay. You specifically asked for this support and you received it. And then now the next thing is, it's deciding whether you want to push the send button again. So every
Right.
time, do I have enough support from that group of people that will get me through this next situation that may
Yeah.
arise? So it's always asking yourself that question. What is, do I or don't I? What's the upside to doing this? What's the downside? Making the best decision for yourself. What would be appropriate for me may not be appropriate for Peggy, uh, and that's okay because it's all about your healing, and that's another thing that we try and so stress so strongly on the show is it's about you. It's about your healing. It's not about the person you're taking care of. It's not about the caregiver who is taking care of you. These shows are about you to bring you through, empower you to come through the situation much more healthier and more positive and finding that positive situation. So
Right.
it doesn't mean that you can't um, have a down day, the poor me on the victim day. It's just through this work, those days are very minimal. And it may not be a day. You may find, oh, I'm going to spend the day with the covers over my head. But in actuality, you find yourself within an hour getting out of bed and getting on with life. And that's all what it's all about is living your life the way you want to. And it's pretty amazing through this work that Peggy and I offer. Um, and you can benefit from it here, even on the show. And it just helps you take that step forward because
Mm-hmm.
it's possible for everyone, no matter who
Right.
you are, to move forward in your life. So,
Right.
but
And
mhm,
our friends out there, if they wanted to step out of their comfort zone sometime, just come on the show. We'd be happy to have you on. And it's a simple process.
yeah.
And you may have some issues that you'd like to have us tap with you. And that's perfectly acceptable. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, we're going to do some tapping in a little bit here, but if you have any questions or comments, the Q&A section is active if you're watching over at our Facebook page. Um, and what I can do is I'm going to put the link in here. It's a new feature of Google Hangouts, so I'm going to give it a try. So
Okay.
I'm going to put in the link to our Facebook page.
Okay. And while Sandy does that, I just want to say that you're listening to Surviving the Diagnosis. And we're happy to have our sponsor, Moira Hutchison.
And let me
Um,
pull up her page just a second.
okay,
I
okay,
want, yeah, I'll pull up her page because that so everybody will know right where to go. Oh, go on, Peggy. Sorry, I don't have it live on my screen yet.
okay. Anyway, Moira is one of our sponsors, and she has a great technique that she uses with cancer patients. It's called hypno-chemo uh, technique, and she's a hypno-chemo practitioner. And what she does is hypnosis, and it's very effective. It's very effective using hypnosis.
There it is.
There she is.
There it is.
Yeah, there's hypnosis for cancer care,
Mhm.
and that's Moira's page.
Believing in our message.
Believing in our message, that's right. And anyone can become a sponsor. Believing in our message The world sees these replays. We go out on YouTube once the show's over, so a lot of people will see your business.
Hmm. Definitely. And she's located in Ottawa, Canada.
Yes, she is, but
Am I
you know, we're
pronouncing that correctly?
yeah, Ottawa, and
Okay.
we're global.
Okay.
She's
Yeah.
originally from Scotland, and I
Yeah.
just love her accent.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you can go to survivingthediagnosis.com and just on the scroll down a little ways onto the homepage and you'll see other sponsors and her banner and you can click onto it and it'll take you right to her website. So thank her for helping us bring our shows to you. So um,
Yes.
and so back to maybe bridging a little bit, Peggy. Of why you wouldn't push that send button. And one of them, I think, is that you maybe criticized or judged. Um, and also, and that's a big one because what if your friends see it? Maybe they'll criticize you in sharing too much or, uh, um, who are you to of statements. And those
Yeah,
are
and
the
there's
kind of
always that little voice in there saying, "Oh, you shouldn't do this."
that shouldn't, that word should or should not.
Right,
Yeah. And
right.
so when if you have that little voice in your head, try and identify whose words those are. Are those a friend telling you that you shouldn't be doing it, or is it something that you learned as a young child that um, at least in my generation, I was taught kids are seen and not heard. So when you want to express yourself, it's that's it. You're hesitant, even though you're not that little kid. You're an adult, but that little kid is still deep inside of you and talking like, "Ooh, are you sure you really want to step out? Because you're not supposed to be. You can be seen, but you can't be heard." So those are the things that we want to work on, and through
Exactly.
tapping we can move that blocked energy. Um, but the other thing too is going back to how do you even start with this? And one is introducing yourself, like our show, coming to our show and talking and learning the steps. But really, how maybe you aren't connecting with tapping, and maybe you're not connecting with us, and that's perfectly fine. But I always tell people, make sure that you continue to seek out what does uh, feel right to you. What is your truth? And Reiki is a great alternative to tapping, or you can do the two together. But Reiki and Peggy and I are Reiki practitioners, so Peggy is definitely more active as a Reiki practitioner than I am. So Peggy, you want to give maybe a little piece of what what somebody could expect from, or what they might be asking a practitioner when they're first seeking to
Sure.
see what Reiki is?
Yeah. Going through the process of learning Reiki, you learn to activate the energy within your body, and what a Reiki master does when they're doing Reiki on a person, and basically it's hands over the person's body, whereas I'm a professional, so I'm licensed to be able to touch people. But like Sandy's showing you, most practitioners will just go right over your body and still get the same effect. Um, I'm used to touching patients, and that's just what I do. But what happens when a person is a master at Reiki, you you emit an energy when you go over an area on a person's body that is out of balance. And I like to mention this study that was just recently done. And I don't know if everybody's familiar with these little units that medical people put on, say, wounds to help them heal. They emit just a little bit of electricity, and those are called hertz. And they measured the amount of hertz that comes out of this little machine, and it was about 8 hertz. And then they measured the energy that came out of a Reiki master's hands when they had the intention of love and connection to their client. And lo and behold, it came out about 8 hertz. Now, if it's a family member and the connection is familial, very strong, that energy can go up to 10. So what it does is it helps relax the muscles, it helps ease pain, it helps heal problem areas in the body. So everybody can benefit from Reiki. We even use it in the hospital. Nurses that are trained in Reiki are using it on surgical patients and long-term care patients, and really getting good response from it.
I'd like to, if we can, to just demonstrate while you're talking, because I think this is a really good exercise for somebody who's not really familiar with the energy, is that if you take your hands um, like this, and well, it's easier for me to do it like this. So if you just take your hands like this, you can feel, and putting your hands together, you can begin to feel the energy. Almost, some people say visualize a ball, but I can almost
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the energy, and then you can
Right.
expand that energy and then come back in. And it's hard to, it's a little resistant in putting your hands together. And
Mm-hmm.
my fingers are moving because the energy's moving them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Yeah.
one way for people to feel energy. And when Peggy does Reiki, um, it's placing hand, what's it called? Laying hand healing, or
Mm-hmm. Healing hands.
healing hand, and that's when they touch. But you do have if you don't want to be touched, you do have that option of asking them to just go above the body. So, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's just really, it's an energy massage. You know.
Exactly. And you do feel the practitioner's energy. They
Hmm.
feel yours. And our premise is to get the energy moving. When you do feel an area, and for instance, my hands become warm when I feel an area that needs worked on and balanced.
Hmm.
And the client also feels this warmth. And what the goal is to start moving that energy, start
Hmm.
getting it going down the body. And we work from head to toe, and we work with the chakras of the body. And that might be another topic for a show, Sandy, but for right now, just suffice to know that these areas in the body are little energy centers. And we work with the chakras and moving the energy out the bottom of the feet, and
Hmm.
therefore balancing the chakras. And it's very, very effective technique.
Hmm. Yeah, and again, it's something that will help you tune into yourself and getting that experience of listening to your body and seeing what is best for it. And again, pushing that send button, you'll know whether or not you feel comfortable doing it. But then ask yourself, if you're uncomfortable, ask yourself, what is the upside if I push the send button, and what is the downside to it? And if the upside outweighs the downside, then there's your answer. And it's your answer. It's not that voice in your head saying you should or should not do something. And that's the key. So that's,
Right.
yeah. Um, and then what we'd like to do now is we'd really like to go into a tapping um, session and show you what tapping's about. We've talked about it quite extensively today, as we do on all our shows, and we do try and uh, do a tapping every single show. And you can follow along, listen to the show, rather listen to our words. So first, if you want to identify what is, let's stay on today's topic. What is preventing you? What is what's your resistance in not pushing that send button? Write that down, just a word or two. And then I'd like you to identify your 0 to 10. The 0 to 10 is, a 0 is, if you can picture somebody doing yoga, that's Zen, okay? And then the 10 is somebody pulling their hair out, okay? And then there isn't any right or wrong in 0 to 10, whatever you're feeling in your body. And then
Right.
identify where in your body you're feeling it, okay? And then Peggy and I'll do some tapping. You just follow along with us. And then when we're done, we'll revisit what you said. So let me check. We got a little comment here.
I just got that message, and one of our listeners
Okay.
couldn't get on the show, so
Yeah. I would
we'll work
say,
on that.
yeah, I would say that she could go over to the Facebook maybe. I'm not sure because we're broadcasting live and the Facebook is working live and the web page is working. So I don't have the answer to that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I
So
think
sorry we missed her.
I think her intention today, Sandy, was to come on live,
Oh, okay.
and the
Oh,
system didn't allow it. So we'll work on that.
okay. If anyone wants to come on live, you have to go to our website and or send an email hello@survivingthediagnosis.com and say I want to be on live, and I have to send you a specific link to this broadcast. Uh, you can't get on live. You can only watch the show on our Facebook or on the website. But if you want to get live, I have to know that the morning of the show or a couple or before. But I have to know so I can send you that link. Um,
Oh, okay.
that yeah, you just don't sign on and get on. It's there's a couple hoops to jump through on that one. But we'll get her on next week, I'm sure.
Okay.
Or when
Very good.
she's available, yeah. So what
Yeah.
we talked about, Peggy, was I'm just going to look at my notes here, is talking about what will people think. That seems to be when we were chatting and preparing for the show. That was kind of what we came up with. Is it that one seems to be a strong resistance of what will people think.
Right. It's
Um,
we all grow up with that feeling of here I am standing all alone, and the whole class is looking at me, and what are they going to think of me?
right,
And
right.
I think that follows you right into adulthood, because if it's not addressed as a child, then you still get that response that the child had.
Right.
And that is standing alone and being seen. And when you're a child, you just want to blend in with the rest of the kids, usually.
Mm, definitely, yeah. So, is that a good topic still, or through our conversation, did anything else come up for you that you felt maybe was had more meat to it today?
That's a good one. That's a
Okay.
good one. That can always help with the stage fright presentation mode that you and I are actively going into.
Right.
Not that
Yeah.
we have stage fright, but we are getting out on the road, people, and we're going to do live events, and you'll be able to come see us.
Yeah, we're excited about that. Actually, I posted on Facebook last week, and anybody that wants to continue the conversation with us, please come to Surviving the Diagnosis over on our Facebook page. And I believe I posted that earlier. Let me check. I'm pretty sure that's the one I posted. Um, actually, it is not. It's facebook.com/surviving the diagnosis. And just join the community and chit chat and continue the conversation because we're going to be tailoring our events to the audience. We're going to obviously bring some of our expertise and our experiences to the floor, but it's really going to be almost like a workshop type thing where it's going to be interactive and helping you work through the blocks that you have. So it's not sitting in a room for a couple hours and just listening to us speak. It's going to be very beneficial. You'll walk away with an awesome tool and some new perspectives, I am certain. So, and we're planning that for the spring. More information to come. If you're interested in being put on the list as we develop it, again, email us at hello@survivingthediagnosis.com, and we'll put you on that list so you're one of the first ones to know and keep you updated on the progress of the event. So once we get the location decided, and we've reached out to you too to let us know when and where you would like us to hold this event. So because we're willing to travel pretty much anywhere, right?
Yep, we are.
Yeah.
Going to get those miles.
Yeah, that's right. So let's tap on that. What will people think? So Peggy, if you can think of a situation, maybe that one that you were talking about this morning of whether or not, it feels a little obligated to continue, and whether you want to really push that button again.
Right.
So on a 0 to 10, what would that be right now when you just kind of just generally think about it?
An 8.
Okay. And I'll ask, and again, the audience, please just follow along. Where in your body would you say that 8 resides? In other words, how do you know it's an 8? How's your body telling you this is an 8?
It's in my solar plexus, my stomach.
Okay.
It seems to be wherever I get stress feelings.
Okay. If you could put an emotion to that area, what would that be?
Ooh, it was doubt. Should I do this? Should I not do this? It was kind of a doubt situation that I thought, well, maybe you shouldn't do it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, excuse me. Again, if I say something, and because this is for your healing, if I say something that doesn't sound just right, just step in, change it to how you want it to say. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
All righty. So we'll start off with the karate chop, and that's on the side of the hand. And you just tap very lightly with your fingers. Even though I have this doubt
Even though I have this doubt
of pushing the send button,
of pushing the send button,
I deeply and completely accept where I'm at.
I deeply and completely accept where I'm at.
Even though I have this doubt.
Even though I have this doubt.
Because what will people think?
Because what will people think?
I deeply and profoundly accept where I'm at.
I deeply and profoundly accept where I'm at.
Even though I'm concerned.
Even though this concern
Of what will people think?
Of what will people think?
Is really strong.
Is really strong.
I deeply and profoundly.
I deeply and profoundly.
Accept who I am.
Accept who I am.
And so on the eyebrow point, what will people think?
What will people think?
Side of the eye. And I'll take my glasses off, sorry, on the bony part. What will people think?
What will people think?
Under the eye, on the cheek. And very gentle because you're around the eye. What will people think?
What will people think?
Under the nose, what will people think?
What will people think?
On the chin point, what will people think?
What will people think?
On the collarbone point, what will people think?
What will people think?
Under the arm point, what will people think?
What will people think?
Top of the head, what will people think?
What will people think?
On the eyebrow, what will people think if I put myself out there again?
What will people think if I put myself out there again?
Maybe they'll think I'm asking too much.
Maybe they'll think I'm asking too much.
Maybe they're thinking I'm asking too much.
Maybe they're thinking I'm asking too much.
Maybe I'm stepping out too much.
Maybe I'm stepping out too much. After all, Facebook? Why would somebody do that on Facebook?
Exactly. Why would somebody put their self out on Facebook?
Yeah, why would I?
The whole world has seen me.
For the whole world to see me.
That's a little scary.
Yeah, it was a lot scary.
But I have this doubt
I have this doubt
of whether I should or shouldn't do it.
of whether I should or shouldn't do it.
I have this doubt,
I have this doubt,
and this doubt is very strong.
and this doubt is very strong.
Maybe I should or maybe I shouldn't.
Maybe I should or maybe I shouldn't.
What will people think of me?
What will people think of me?
On the collarbone, what will people think of me?
What will people think of me?
I'm taking a real deep breath and releasing. Now, I just want to say that this was a really general kind of tabletop issue. What will people think of me? We really didn't go deep to what's holding that up, other than knowing it's doubt. So how is your 0 to 10 now, Peggy, on that statement, what will people think?
It is about a 6.
Okay. And how is your stomach area? Is that
Feeling it in my throat now. It's gone from my stomach.
okay? So now it's moved, and that's
Mm-hmm.
good. That's good because now it's not a pain, but some people will classify doubt as a pain point, and so I won't say it's not pain, but so it's called chasing the pain. It's chasing the issue. So we've moved it from here. We're coming up to the throat, and the throat is your throat chakra, which is your way of expressing yourself. So
Right,
there's a 6 of a block in there.
right.
Excuse me. If you could put, uh, well, let's ask how the doubt is. Has that doubt? So how is the doubt?
I think the doubt has turned to anxiety, fear
Okay.
of being rejected. I think that is fear of
Okay.
being rejected.
So how I would view this is that your 8 went to a 0. Your stomach area became clear, and you no longer had the doubt. But what has come up is a new aspect, and you now have a 6. It's in your throat, and it's the fear of being rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a completely new aspect. So there isn't
Right,
anything hanging out there around the doubt. Am I clear on that?
right. You're
Okay.
clear on your, yeah.
Okay. So let's do a quick round on the on that. Now, for our listeners, if you have anything left on your original number, you want to do another round of tapping on that to bring that down before you actually move on to a new aspect. But Peggy doesn't have anything hanging out there, so we'll go in and clear this throat and fear of rejection if you're willing.
I'm willing.
Okay, all right. So let's go back on the karate chop. Even though
Even though
I have this fear of being rejected,
I have this fear of being rejected,
I deeply and completely accept where I'm at.
I deeply and completely accept where I'm at.
Even though I have this fear of rejection,
Even though I have this fear of rejection,
of pushing send,
of pushing send,
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself.
Even though I have this fear of rejection,
Even though I have this fear of rejection,
I'm willing to consider
I'm willing to consider
pushing that send button.
pushing that send button.
Okay, on the eyebrow, this fear of rejection.
This fear of rejection,
Side of the eye, this fear of rejection.
this fear of rejection,
Under the eye, this fear of rejection.
this fear of rejection,
Under the nose, this fear of rejection.
this fear of rejection. There was a shift.
On the chin point, this fear of rejection.
This fear of rejection,
Collarbone, this fear of rejection.
this fear of rejection.
Under the arm, the sphere of rejection.
the sphere of rejection,
And top of the head, the sphere of rejection.
the sphere of rejection.
And let's go back to the collarbone and just take in a deep breath. All righty. So let's tune back into that the fear of rejection. You're 0 to 10. I lost my 10. Oh, here it is.
Um, that went way down. That was the bingo spot.
Great.
Fear of rejection. Yeah.
Okay. So what
That went down. What was my number before on this one? Fear of
on the
rejection?
fear of rejection was a 6.
Okay. It's 2.
Okay, great. And how's your throat?
Much better, but it's still about a 2.
Okay, good. And then okay. And how is the emotion? Is it still fear of rejection? That too? Or has the
Yeah,
emotion changed?
I think it's still fear of rejection,
Okay.
but it's so minor now.
Well, because you
It's like,
still have some hanging out there, let's demonstrate the remainder for the listeners.
okay,
Okay. Because we're below a 3, and I believe that we can go there when we're below a 3. We can do releasing this remainder rejection
releasing this remainder of rejection,
on the side of the eye, releasing this remainder fear of rejection
releasing this remainder fear of rejection,
under the eye, releasing this remainder fear of rejection
releasing this remainder fear of rejection,
under the nose, releasing this remainder fear of rejection
releasing this remainder fear of rejection,
under the chin, releasing the remainder fear of rejection.
releasing this remainder fear of rejection.
I'm getting benefits from this. This is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. We're,
Releasing
we're
this remainder fear of rejection.
releasing this remainder fear of rejection. We're moving energy here,
Yeah,
people.
I'm sorry. I got in the way there for a second. Under the arm, releasing this remaining fear of rejection.
Releasing this remaining fear of rejection.
And top of the head, releasing this fear of remaining rejection. It's a tongue twister.
Releasing this remaining fear of rejection.
And collarbone. Just taking a deep breath. Awesome sauce. How are you?
Oh, wow. Just want to tell the people that when you experience a shift in the energy, there's certain somatic symptoms that happen, and that means bodily symptoms. And what I usually do, what happens to me is when I move energy, is I yawn or I
Mhm.
cough. Um, that is a telltale sign of really moving that energy, and we did, and it's down to 0.
Right. Good. Good. And I did kind of interfere there, but I was uh benefiting from this round because we both have that. We both in different situations have that fear of pushing that send button.
Yes.
And I had a real big one that I was sharing in another group over the weekend. And I mean, at first I had a little hesitation, and then as the conversation evolved, you just get in the groove and you share and you feel so much better. And just knowing that there's people there that are supportive and understanding of what you're feeling. And that's
Lightening your load.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of our big things, like I said earlier, is we want you to know that you are not alone. We are here on Google Hangouts every Monday morning to open discussion, to just chat and help and support you in the best way that we know how. And we are coming close to the end of the show. So I just want to say that if you really enjoyed experiencing what we offer to you on Monday mornings, definitely reach out to us. Go to survivingthediagnosis.com click on access to Hangouts, and there in the drop-down menu, as you enter your information, you'll see where there's a link. I want to be live on the show. I get that information, and so when I send out the links to other people who want to be live on the show, I do that every Monday morning because each show has its own specific link, and I don't get that link until I come live. So it's really close to the beginning of the show. So you just know that get on your in your email and know it's going to show up. And then you can come on and we can tap on something specific to what you're experiencing. And that's what we're all about here. And also, just share and come over to Surviving the Diagnosis over on Facebook, like I said, share in conversation. We'd like to continue our conversation on the topic that we discussed on the show on Monday. So this week we're going to be discussing pushing that send button and what is your resistance, what is your challenge, and what is your belief why you can't do that.
Right, right.
And Peggy, is there anything else before we sign off?
I just want to give a shout out there to Wendy. She was a pretty constant show up on the Hangouts on Monday mornings, and we're still looking for you to come back, Wendy, if you so choose. And I want to say hello if Roberta's watching, and I want to say hello to Candace if she's watching, because we've had some pretty good exchanges on the Facebook page this week, and we're going to keep those going. We're gonna post quite a bit on the Facebook page, but because it seems that people do want to engage with us. So hello to everyone that has responded, and we're here for you every week, every Monday.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the Facebook page real quick if there were any comments and that, because on Facebook, when you go over to our site and you're watching the live show, at the bottom you can comment there while the show is live as well, and we can answer your question. Our intention is to also save a little time near the end of the show for the Q&A. And as you can see, and I can't, the sun has come out. There we go. There I am. I couldn't find my controls. I apologize.
Oh, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, it's getting warm. The Florida sun is very, very warm. But just to remind everyone that your hopes and your dreams are always within reach, and they are obtainable if you so choose to step out and do the work, and we're here to help you. So thank you very much, and we will see you next week. Oh, I wanted to, forgot to say, please mark your calendars for September 29th. Sharon King from the UK is going to virtually join us.
Oh, yeah.
Crossing the pond virtually, and we're very excited for her to come. She is the developer of Matrix Birth Reimprinting, and she has a book out, and she's going to be talking about that. And so, again, just go over to her website if you want to read more about her and sign up for her show. That's survivingthediagnosis.com/Sharon, SHARON King. K is in kite, ING. Sharon King.
So, I'm so excited to have her on.
Yeah.
She was my teacher, and oh my gosh, this technique is just amazing. You're going to love her. You're going to love her.
And you may want to plan for a little bit longer, because I have a real strong feeling we may go over the 60 minutes.
Right. For the Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So start sending us your questions that you'd like her to answer on the show, and just use the email hello@survivingthediagnosis.com, and it'll come in, and we'll get it all answered as time allows. So, all right, everybody, signing off. See you next week.
Bye. See you next week.